Hi, my name is Anna Alexander, and I'm a junior here at Peoria, Notre Dame. And I would say that I have most experienced God's mercy in my life through confession. And I've always had trouble with having a lot of nervousness before going into confession and trying to avoid it as much as I can and only going like a couple times a year. And since coming to Notre Dame and having confession available both on Monday and Friday, I've tried to go every other week as I can and like talking to the priest about nervousness and like making sure I'm having a good confession and like actually like feeling good about myself after leaving, whereas I didn't feel good leaving confession before when I was really nervous. So I would say that God's mercy has impacted me most through that.
I am not alone. You will go before me. You will never leave me. I am not alone. I am not alone. You will go before me. You will never.
Hello, my name is Isaiah Ward. I'm a junior. One ways God showed mercy in my life is through sports, since I'm an athletic kid. Last year when I was a sophomore, there was a senior named JT Jackson Homan. He was a football player, he was a senior, and senior night was coming up against Rock Island Alleman, and usually Thursdays night we come in the library and pray and have our little devotion and everything. And when it happened, I was laying on the ground just thinking about it. It was a senior night, and I had talked to Coach Walters like a day before that, telling him to let him JT start, and he was telling me that it's okay, he'll have his chance to like other times and in college if he goes to play there. And so that kind of took the pressure off me a little, but it's still heavy on me. And so I come up to Coach Walters and I tell him that I have to talk to him after the meeting, to him and JT. So after it, me and JT and Coach Walters go in his office, and then I tell him that I really want JT to play. Kind of gets emotional for the both of us because I was the one that started crying. I don't know if you can imagine me crying like emotionally, but we both started. And so JT starts crying and Coach Walters is all in it. He talks to all the coaches, and JT that night goes out there and like has the game of his life. And it was just amazing to see the kid on the field. And then the next practice is coming up. It was Wednesday. I come out and sub JT in because he's my backup now, and he goes up there and he tears his ACL. And a couple days after that, JT comes up to me in the hallway, and he can't ever play football ever again in his life, and it like kills me. And so we both like start crying in the hallway again. And then that was just one way God showed mercy through me. It's just like you have to love others and put others before yourself before you can love yourself, because it's just when you do that, it shows kind of like the compassion you show others, and it's like showing people that you care. And that's what God really wants for us on this earth, is to care for others and put other people before ourselves, because it's just that kind of love that gives people hope and faith and keep going in life.
I'm Bill Smith. I teach theology here at Peoria, Notre Dame. And I was raised by wolves. Loving and kind-hearted, but wolves. And we ran wild outside the fold, but not free. And I spent a great deal of my childhood alone, roaming the woods, and I was a lone wolf. And twice in my wanderings as a youth in the woods, I came across a glade, two different glades, two different experiences. And here alone, I entered into this glade, and suddenly I realized I was not alone. I had encountered some kind of presence. It was indescribable, and it was sublime. Well, from that experience, I knew for sure there was a spiritual world. And but outside the fold, I took several paths. Wrong paths. And by the time I was 19, I had become lost, hopelessly lost. And then one day a fellow lost soul suggested we try church. Let's go to Sunday church. Okay. I hadn't tried that, and so we did. And I tried this little church I'd heard about, didn't know anyone, but I walked in, and the building itself was very simple. It was like a shaker-style building. Couldn't have held over 80 people or so, and it was packed. And I walked in, a total stranger, but it was as if they were waiting for me. Well, after the service, the pastor asked if I'd like to study the scripture with him. And I thought, well, why not? And so I did for the next several days. He took me from Genesis through to the cross in the scriptures. And then he invited me into this kingdom. And so within a few weeks after my first visit at this little church, I found myself on Sunday morning, waist deep in the cold water of their baptistry, waiting to be baptized. And I stood there just before the pastor took me under, and I was just so happy because I was about to die. And so then the pastor plunged me beneath the flow, and this lone wolf was washed in the blood of the Lamb. Mercy.
You are perfect in all of your ways to us.
Hi, I'm Mary Kate Richie, and I'm a senior. And I would say I thank Peoria Notre Dame Campus Ministry for kind of changing my life and introducing me to a new relationship with God, and in particular learning where and when I can receive mercy. And I think simply by going to adoration. When I walk in, it's kind of an oasis, and it's just a break from everything, and I feel a lot of love and mercy when I go there. And of course, there's other events, mission trip, March for Life, but it's so nice and simple that we have the chapel open for adoration Mondays and Fridays. So I just think going in there whenever I can, just to find some peace during the hectic, crazy day. And I feel like that's where I've found the most mercy, and I'm so thankful for it.
You unravel me with a melody. You surround me with a song of deliverance from my enemies till all my fears.
Hi, I'm Charlie Schneider. I'm a senior here, and I think the most profound moment I've ever experienced God's mercy would have to be in my sophomore year. I was in the hospital with my grandmother, who was doing very poorly, and by all accounts it didn't look like she was going to make it much longer. And conveniently, I also happened to be doing a project in Sister Sarah's class on St. Faustina, specifically the virtue of mercy. And everything I came across in research for that project talked about not being content to receive mercy, but striving to be the image of God's mercy and to be merciful towards others. And so, as much as I may have wanted to, in that moment I could have just prayed for God's mercy and forgiveness and left it at that. But I think what the project challenged me to do was also to be the image of mercy to my grandmother and help her in any way I could, as often as I could. And that involved just spending moments by her bedside and tending to what she asked of me. And I think through the combination of what little I could do and everything that God could do through me, she actually did make a recovery, and it was really just a marked change in her attitude that I think helped turn her around. And it was really just a very profound experience of God's mercy in my life, and it's helped me live a little bit differently ever since.
I am a child of God. I'm no longer a slave to fear.
Hi, I'm Katie Madison, and I'm a teacher here at Notre Dame High School. And today I just wanted to take this opportunity to talk to you guys about forgiveness, because it's something that I have at times struggled with in my life. When I was growing up, my parents got divorced, and it was something that really caused me a lot of pain and anger. And I carried that around with me for a long time. And over time, I came to realize that carrying the pain and the anger around in my heart was becoming a burden. And for my own well-being, I needed to try to forgive. And I really found a lot of help from Father David at St. Philomena, because through our time in confession and through his homilies, he really helped me understand what it is to forgive. To forgive isn't to say that whatever the offense was never happened. It's not to say that it didn't cause you pain and that you're not angry. But it is to make a decision to not let yourself, your heart, your future be controlled by pain and anger. And I remember one day real clearly, I was sitting at Mass, and the reading was from the third book of Colossians, or excuse me, the third chapter of Colossians, and it really just was like a divine moment. I felt like God was really just speaking to me and saying, pay attention to this, because it calls upon us to really be patient and be kind, be humble, and to forgive one another, because God has forgiven us. And the end of it says, above all these things put on love, because it is the bond of perfection, and then you will know the peace of Christ in your heart. After all, I mean, we are called to forgive because of God's infinite mercy for us. And so I guess my message to all of you today would be that if there is something in your life that has caused you pain or that you're angry about, and if you've been carrying that around in your heart, and if it's become a burden to you, to really just pray to God and to ask Him for the strength and for the grace to be able to forgive. And then hopefully you will be able to know the peace of Christ in your hearts.